Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to add chat groups and guilds to your project. So to start off, I've got my chat groups guilds project open here. I've also created a third-person template project that we're going to be using just as an example of how to add the system to it. So the first thing we'll do is we'll right-click the chat groups guilds folder, and we're going to select migrate. We're going to hit OK. And then we're going to navigate to your projects files. So for me, that's my project. Then go to content and just do select folder, and that will send over the files. And now we'll just head over to the my project. And you can see I've got my chat groups guild folder here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to settings, project settings, and we're going to go to the collision tab here, go to presets, add a new one. And we'll call this chat area, and that's with a capital C and then a capital A. We're going to set it to query only. We'll leave it as world static, and then we'll set it to ignore all, like that, and hit accept. Next, we're going to close this out like that, and we're going to go over to blueprints, and then we're going to find the master chat area and open that. And I'll just bring it to this window, and we're just going to select the box here, and we're going to make sure that this is set to chat area, the collision preset. It's already set because we've just created it, but if yours isn't, you just need to select it. If it's not here for some reason, even though you've created it in the project settings, try just restarting the project. Sometimes you need to do that for collision presets to show up. Now, the next steps are really going to depend on your project and what blueprints you already have. If you plan on just using the character that comes with chat groups guilds, all we need to do then is go to settings, project settings, and we can change the maps and modes to the CGG game mode like that. And in our third person level, obviously this might be your level, but I'm just going to delete this character out because we don't want to control that one. If we hit play, we'll just get our CGG character, and all of the controls and settings will just work as they should. Now, if that's fine for you, then you're pretty much done. But a lot of you, I'd imagine, will be having your own characters, maybe your own game modes and game states and things like that. So I'll show you how to set those up now. In this third-person template, it doesn't actually have a lot of those blueprints. So what I've done is I've actually just created them. So I've created these controller state and player state. If you don't have any of these, or you're missing, say, one of them, that's fine. We'll just use the ones that come with chat groups guilds. But I'll go through and show you how to get these set up, just in case you do have them in your project. So the first one will be the controller. So open up your controller, and we'll go to add component and do CGG controller component like that. And then we'll go to the controller that comes with chat groups guilds. So that's in the characters folder. We'll open up player controller. We're just going to copy these nodes and paste them into your controller. Now these are what I use to open up the menus and things. If you want to change the keys, you can just select the input node and change it over here. Something to keep in mind is obviously if you have these keys already, say doing something else, you may need to change them because they might not run, and you can just do that over here. Now again, if you don't have a controller in your project, say you're using the default engine one, that's fine. I'll show you how to set the player controller to be used. So all we do is we go to your game mode, so we'll open that up now. We'll find the player controller class, and mine's just set to the default engine one, but I'm going to set it to the new controller that we just added our component to, like that. And again, if you don't have a controller, you can just set it to be the BP_CGG player controller here instead. Next, we're going to need to set up our game state. Now, if you don't have a game state, I'll show you how to set the game state to use the CGG one. But if you do, all we need to do is open that up. If you get this view, you just need to click Open Full Editor like that. And then in Components, we're just going to search for CGG, and we want to add the game state component here, like that. And we'll just compile and save that. And then we're going to go back to your game mode, and you may already have it set if you've already set your own game state up. But if not, we can go to game state here and we can set it to that new game state. And again, if you don't have a game state of your own, you can just use the CGG one, and that's that one here. But I'm going to set mine to the new game state like that. Next is the player state. So again, I've created one because the third person template doesn't come with one. If you don't have one, I'll show you in a second how to set the CGG player state instead. But if you do have your own player state, we're just going to open that up. Again, we'll open the full Blueprint editor, add a component, and we're going to add CGG player state component like that, and compile and save. Then in our game mode, we can go to the player state here, and we can set that new state. Or if you don't have one, we can just set the CGG player state like that. But I'm going to select the new player state. And then we're going to compile and save this. Now, currently my project is still using the CGG game mode that I showed you earlier. So I'm just going to go over to my project settings and make sure that the default game mode is actually now the third person game mode, because that's the one we've been setting all of these blueprints to. So I'm going to select that one. If you don't have your own game mode, then you can just use the CGG one, and that will already have all these blueprints set for you. And while we're in here, we can also set the game instance class. Now, you can, if you don't have a game instance class, you can select the CGG one. This doesn't have much code in it, I can show you quickly. If you do have your own game instance, you can just copy the code from it and then paste it into your one. But I'll show you quickly. All you have in here is this section of code that you could just copy and paste into your own game instance if you want. You don't need this for the system to work, but I recommend having it because it's important for when clients disconnect and reconnect to servers. So you probably want to have this in your game instance, but I don't have a game instance in this project, so in the project settings I'm just going to set it to the CGG game instance. Next we're going to set up our character. So for me that's going to be the third person character, so we'll just open that up. And the first thing we're going to do is in class settings we'll go to implemented interfaces and we're going to go to add and then search for name, and we're going to use the CGG nameplate interface. And we'll just compile, and you'll see we've got our interface functions in here. They may be under like a different category, but you'll find them all under interfaces anyway. So we'll start with the CGG name. We'll just open that up. Now we're going to copy some code from the CGG character, so we'll head over to that. And in here we'll start in the same function, so we'll go to CGG name. I'm actually already in there, so what we're going to do is we're just going to copy all of this here, go back to our character, paste that in. We'll disconnect the beginning node and connect that up to the isValid at the beginning, delete this return node, and what we're going to do with these grayed out variables, we'll just right click and do create variable at the top, and the same for this one, and we can compile, and that's all done. Next we'll do player ID, so again we'll just go to CGG character, player ID, and we will copy all of this, go to third person character, and we'll paste that into our player ID, take the beginning node and we'll just connect that up to the isValid, and we will right click the player ID here and do create variable. We don't need to do the player state component again because we already created that. So next we'll go to replace name, and again we'll go to CGG character, replace name, just copy all of this and we'll paste that in, take the beginning node, connect it up to the isValid, and we don't need to create any variables for this one, so I'll just delete the old return node. Next we'll go to show name panel. We want to tick this on. This basically just tells the widget to be visible. Then we'll go to guild, and then we can copy that from our CGG character as well, so I'll just copy that and paste that in. And we'll need to right click the player guild variable and do create variable. Again we'll just take the beginning node, plug it into isValid and delete the return node. Next we're going to add some new components. So we're going to go to the components tab and we're going to add the nameplate component, and we'll compile. And we're also going to add the health component. Now if you're using your own health system, I will explain later on in the video how to set that up, but just for now we're going to set up the basic health component as well, and then we'll compile. Next we're going to add the widget to our character, so we'll select the capsule component and search for widget. we want to add this widget component, and we'll compile again. And we're going to set up its values. So the first thing is changing it from world to screen. The next thing will be widget class. I'm going to use the floating nameplate 2 because that has a health bar. If you don't want health bars, you can use the floating nameplate 1, but I'm going to use 2. These default values, I'd recommend just copying the ones from the CGG character. You can play about with these if you want, but these are the default ones that I'd recommend. So I'm just going to copy those, paste those in here. So it's 340 by 160. And then down here, we need to set the pivot in the Y to 1, and we'll just compile. Next, we're going to set the widget's position in our viewport. So I'm just going to head over to the viewport. If you don't have a viewport tab, just double click it and it will open, double click the widget component and it will open up the viewport. And you can see right now it's kind of in the center of our character, but I want it above his head. So I'm going to move it to, I'll just change my snapping value here. I'm going to move it to about 85. That's the value that is in our default CGG character, so I'm just going to stick with that value. Again, you can move this around as much as you like, and then we'll compile and save this. Lastly, for our character to work with the basic health component, we're going to copy one last bit of code from our CGG character, and that's just this here. So we'll paste this into our event graph, and that basically just means if the character takes damage, it will decrease the health component's health value. Once that's done, we're pretty much finished with integrating chat guilds and groups to our third-person character. So if we hit play, we're spawning in now with our third-person character. You can see we've got our widget above our head. I created a guild earlier on when I was testing something, so you can see our guilds displaying as well. Our health bar on the left is at the correct value as well, and everything's pretty much done. So if you want to use the health system that comes with chat group guilds, then you're all finished. But if you have your own health system, I'll quickly show you now how to set that up. Now, if you have your own health system, the process of setting the chat groups and guilds to use it is going to depend on how your health system is set up. If your health values are stored in your character, so if I go to third person character, I'll show you how to set it up so you can get those values working. So I'm just going to quickly add a current health. I'll set this to an integer, and a max health. You will need a current health and max health in your health system for this to work. So I'm just going to set my max health to 100. I'll set the current health to say 20, just so we can tell that it's working like that. And then what we'll do is we'll do Control F, and we're going to search for basic health component and hit enter. And then we're going to click the Find in All Blueprints button here, and that will bring up this window, and that will show us the places that we need to change. So the first one will be in our group member panel. So we'll just double click this here. You can see how this works is it just gets the player's current character, and then we get whether or not it has a health component. Now, if you're using a health component as well, it would just be a case of changing the component to your health component. You'd have to delete these values and get your own values, plug them in here. But I'm going to be setting it up so we're getting it from the character. So I'll drag out from private pawn, and I'll do cast to our third person character. And we can just drag out from there and do get max health and get current health. Like that, and you can see those are two values that I just created in our third person character. And instead of getting the component class here, we'll just delete that, and we'll plug these values in instead. So current into current, and max into max, and we'll do a cast like this, and we'll just move this along. And if the cast fails, we'll just set it to hidden. You may also want to add a is valid here just in case, so we'll do that like this, and we can actually copy this just to save us some time. So we'll go to the next one here, and it's the same setup. So we'll just delete this code here, we'll paste it in like this, connect it up to the return node, and we'll connect these two here and here. like that, and if cast fails, we'll just return 0. So that's our group member panels done. We can just compile and save that. They will now use our health values that are stored in our third person character instead of the health component, or you may also want to drag out from is not valid and plug that into 0 as well. And we'll compile that. So now we can move on to our self panel. So this is the panel that's in the top left of the screen that has your player's health. We can open that up, and I've actually added in some instructions here that basically shows you how you can cast your character to get your health values. So I'll move this down here so we can see a little bit better. From here we can just drag out and we can do cast to third person character. We'll delete this because we're not using the health component. We'll plug this in, we'll delete this as well, and we'll do get max health, and we'll do get current health, and we will plug those in here and here, and we'll just delete these old nodes as well. We'll connect up to the return node here, and then if the cast fails, we'll just return 0. And we'll compile that, and we'll just copy this as well because we need to do it again over here. So we'll just paste that in. We'll delete these, connect it up like this. Current health into current and max into max. And we'll connect this up to the branch here and the cast fail into here. So now our health, our self-health panel, we use our health from our third person character, and now we'll go to the floating nameplate 2. So we'll just click component class here. Now this one's a little bit different. Floating nameplates are designed so that they can be on any actor. So chat group skills includes like a little cube that has a health component, which means it has a health value that we can display on our widget. Because we've changed it so that we're using the health on our third person character now, it won't have that functionality anymore, but I will show you how to set it up so that your characters will still work. So first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of this and this, and we'll do cast to third person, not game mode, cast to third person character like this. If it's not valid, we'll connect down here, and the same with cast failed, and we'll change our health component here, this variable. We're going to change this to the third person character like that, and we'll just do change, and we'll connect it up here and here. Now further along the line we'll get some errors. We can just alt click that. We want to do get current health, so we'll delete this, connect that up here, and we'll do get max health like that. So now our floating health bar will display the values from our third person character. We also need to alt click this and just plug that in here. You may want to rename it, so I'll just change it to character like that, and we'll compile. Now we've got some errors because there's another function that sets our text, so we'll just go to the error, and over here we're just going to do pretty much the same thing. We'll delete this and his, we'll cast to third person character like that, is not valid here, and cast failed to the branch as well, and we'll connect. We need to it's already changed because it's using the same variable. If we refresh it, it should, there we go, change to character. And we'll connect this up, and we'll alt click this, and we're going to refresh this node as well. So we'll just change it over to character. If it doesn't for some reason, just delete it and then get our character variable and set it again, but it should just update if you refresh the node. We'll go over here and we'll refresh this, and we'll do the same as before, get current health, and we'll also get our max health like that, and we'll delete the old node, and then we'll compile. So now that we've done that, you've got to remember that we're now casting to the character, and if our nameplate actor isn't a character, then it's just going to hide the health bar. So our example cube that comes with chat groups and guilds, that health bar won't display anymore because it's not a character, because we're getting the health values from our character. If you are using a component, like I said earlier, it's just a case of changing the component in the get component class node, and then changing the variable. You can see I've actually got instructions up here as well if you want to have a read of those. But now when we hit play, we should see our health is at 20 because that's what we set it in our third person character. We're actually using those health values now. So you can set up your own health system if you want to. One last thing I forgot to mention when we added our health variables to our third person character is obviously in your health system, this is just an example, but your health values need to be replicated. That's really important because if they're not, then other players won't be able to see your player's health. So just make sure that in your health system, those variables are replicated so other clients can see them. So lastly, we can just double check that this is working in multiplayer. So I'll just set this to 2 players, hit play, and you can see we've got both our players here. We can see that their health values are 20. And if I tab over to my other player, you can see that he's also seeing the same values. I can quickly invite player 1 to a group as well, and we'll accept his invite. And you can see that on the left there in the top corner, our health values are correct as well. One last thing I wanted to show you guys that's quite important is the system automatically saves your groups and your guilds. So you can see if I hit play, we're in the same group. But say maybe I wanted to test something in single player and I change it to 1 player, you can see that our player 2 is offline because it's saved our group. If you ever want to delete the current save, all you need to do is drag the self helper into the level. And there's a button here that just says delete CGG save. If we click that and then we hit play, you can see that it's reset our group and everything, and our guilds will be cleared as well. That's just helpful for testing, just because the system auto saves whenever you do something. So that's just something like a little tip to keep in mind. So that's pretty much it for adding chat groups and guilds to your project. Thank you for watching.